Okay, time to get started. Could I have you in the back find a seat and call you to attention for day 2 of the Montana Economic Summit, Montana Solutions for Montana Jobs. And how about that first day? How about it? That was a great day here in Butte and a great day for Montana on the stage. World leaders here. It was wonderful. I got 4 eyes for us. Inspiring, informational, a lot of intel going around. If you didn't take part in it, it's your fault, not the events. And a lot of interaction. We were really pleased with all we were able to do, and it was just a great day, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And with that, how about a round of applause for Senator Baucus for making it happen? Okay, one housekeeping matter. As I said yesterday, there's an evacuation policy. We hope for sure that it is not needed. But if there is an emergency, just proceed out the same doors that you came in, out the doors to the outside, and then head south. Head to the south part of the building where the tents are or were yesterday, and we'll all be safe. So thank you for cooperation on that. Do it orderly, but do it quickly in case of an evacuation. If you didn't hear that earlier announcement about the Dodge Stratus, your lights are on, and as somebody said going by, nobody seems to be home. So, to bring day 2 to life, it's my pleasure to introduce to you a very strong leader in Montana and a good friend of mine and someone who's done a lot for the state already, Montana's top cop, Steve Bullock.
The top cop. I always worry a little of how John Sesso might begin, but I guess I'll take top cop. I've been Attorney General now for about 18 months now. I sure appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm glad we all came back for the second day. It seems like it's been a great economic summit so far, and I think we need to give credit also where credit's due. As we gather, it's important to recognize this isn't something that just happens overnight. For basically the last 40 years, Senator Baucus has been working on behalf of Montana to make this a place that we want to live, where we can raise our kids, where we'll have jobs, and I think he deserves a round of applause for all he did in putting this together. He had also asked that I convey his, I guess, regrets. He actually had to fly back to D.C. last night because today on the Senate floor is a vote on his small business jobs bill. So ultimately that was important to get back to make sure that our voices are represented. You know, through giving consumers confidence so that they won't be scammed, or by making our neighborhoods safe, I think that the Attorney General does ultimately do a lot when it comes to preserving and making the sort of economic climate that we'd want. But today, I guess I want to talk a little bit less about what I do during the day and what I do more after the day's over, or what greets me when I get home. I was raised in Helena, and I have high school friends that, they're dealing with their kids now in college and technical school. We started a little bit late. I have a 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And it was 2 weeks ago yesterday that we're walking Caroline, my oldest, to 3rd grade. For any parent that's taken that walk, it's a heck of a lot harder on the parent than the kid it'll ever be. And I'm thinking back, boy, how far she's come in 3 years. So I'm all awash in sentimentalism, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, my wife, she delivers just this lands a kidney punch. She goes, "Just think, honey, in 10 years from now, we'll be dropping her off at college." What a way then to think. My little 3rd grader, and in part I think though it's good because more often than not, we need to be thinking about where Montana will be in 10 years. And even though business and government doesn't always fully appreciate it, that we share a lot of the same things in common. When you look at the aggregate level of why our economy melted down over the past few years, there's really one commonality. business and industries that quit looking for the long term. The focus wasn't what can this company contribute in terms of jobs, people, profitability in 10 years. Instead, it was what kind of profits can we take this quarter? And what kind of bonuses can we expect from those profits? Many of the businesses that have been keynoting throughout this summit, Berkshire Hathaway, GE, Microsoft, Disney, they're different because they've been in it for the long haul. But if the focus on sort of the immediate desires is a fair criticism of business, I don't think government always fares that much better. Long-term and stable leadership, it's replaced by elected officials seeking the immediate return. It all becomes about a 2-year cycle or 4-year cycle. Political dialogue's all about November, not what the future will be. And then for that person or the party that's out of power, more often than not, the stalemate's preferable because it'll change the dynamics at the end. And I think that both of those dynamics have to change. Both business and government has to say, go beyond, because Montana, it is such a special place. But we are at that crossroads, and we need to be thinking more about the third graders than we do about the next election or the next dividend cycle. And I think we do that by both looking into the future and saying, where can we go, but also grabbing a hold of what's been strong in the past in Montana. And there are so many things that are. When you look at job loss, I mean, Montana actually does produce and manufacture things. A third of our economy is still based on production agriculture. But over the past 30 years, Montana's lost, on average, 150 farms and ranches each and every year. We had 200 grain elevators dotting the plains in 1984, less than 50 today. And I think ultimately, if we care about the sustainability of family farming and ranching, and if we want our Montana small communities to survive, we have to do more. As Attorney General, I added a Farm and Ranch Protection Division. So it's more than just a top cop, where I have staff attorneys working in conjunction then with federal authorities on competition, concentration issues. Because lack of competition is always good for that company that's in that position, that has that market share, but the business is dependent upon that robust marketplace, they ultimately suffer. Agriculture will remain our top industry, and we have to do as much as we can to make sure that that dollar stays with Montana. You know, it's interesting as we gather here too, because hundreds of miles of tunnels run below where we are today. And yeah, the richest hill on earth, I think we can learn a lot from it, because reclaiming the abandoned mines and other extraction sites across Montana, it's now a major part of our economy. I don't have to look any further than my own family. In 1992, in the basement of a house here in Butte, my older brother started an environmental engineering firm, Pioneer Tech. He started by doing circle investigations, abandoned mine cleanup. 18 years later, that's now 100 employees in Helena, in Butte, and in Anaconda. And like Bill's company, I think that the best businesses ultimately that we'll see in Montana in the coming years, they rise from within. They're not going to be recruited here. They start by the love of the state and the love of Montana that we all share. I have no doubt that there's men and women in this room and classrooms all across our state right now that'll be those next business leaders. Think about it, Seattle became the home of Microsoft, not because of great tax incentives or breaks. It became the home of Microsoft because that's where Bill Gates was raised. And we don't have to go that far, because the same holds true here. Washington Corp could now be based out of any state, but it stays in Montana because this is where Dennis Washington calls home. Summit Engineering chose Helena over anywhere else, not because of just the tax packages or the benefits, but because the company's founders had ties all throughout here. More recently, Mike Robbins, he started CCAST here in Butte. Sure, he'd spent most of his life in Seattle, his adult life, but this was home. This is where he then wanted to return. Those of us that live here, we know better than anyone how special Montana is, and what a great place it is to raise a family. If the question for businesses, men and business women, is whether or not they or their families and their employees would like to live in Montana, we're going to win more times than not. Ask Casey Walsh, who moved Sims up from Jackson Hole in 1992 to Bozeman. Now has over 100 employees. It won't happen just though by chance. I mean, we do need to invest in education. We need to guarantee that the communities are attractive to businesses by focusing on the reliable infrastructure, strong law enforcement, fire protection, clean drinking water, quality access to health care. We shouldn't only be spending our time on tax packages. We in government and the private sector have to look together to say what's going to make the communities desirable, to want to stay here, to be able to stay here, to not have to have the brain drain and go to other places as our young get through college. Government and the businesses we do attract have to take that longer-term view. This isn't going to be about the next dividend or the next election. It's ultimately about making sure that that third grade daughter of mine and all Montana's third grade kids and up have every opportunity that this state afforded us growing up and more. Thanks so much for letting me start out this morning. I look forward to a great day.